Awesome. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started because we've got a great conference session for you today. So first, I want to introduce myself. I'm Kathy Wood. I'm the education partner manager at Read Speaker. I am moderating today's session. I may have encountered some of you in some previous sessions during the conference this week. Quick little blurb about Read Speaker. We're a text-to-speech company focusing on accessibility tools. So if you haven't heard about us, I'd encourage you to kind of look at my profile at the conference website and learn a little bit more about us. We've got a 20% discount on licenses for new users, so check that out. But I'm not going to waste any more time because, again, we've got a full session for you today. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Dr. Michelle Singh, and she's going to introduce her cohorts in this session and get us started. So welcome, everyone.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. It is great to always be in the company of our TXDLA family. It is wonderful to see such familiar faces and really just getting to connect again within this wonderful atmosphere. The conference has been absolutely amazing. Kudos to the conference committee and all of the work that they have done to put an amazing program together. And so thank you for joining us on behalf of the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board to talk a little bit about some of the exciting things that are happening right now at the agency. And everyone knows we're in a legislative session, so that's always an exciting time. But we're really excited to kind of set that vision and that platform for what the Division of Digital Learning is going to be doing in the next couple of months as we progress into the next year and really starting to get a strong foundation and bring the community together. I am joined today by two of my colleagues, Dr. Kyla Tori and Mr. Patrick Plush, so that we can talk to you a little bit about the activities that are going on within digital learning, specifically talking about future services and programs, which Dr. Tori will talk about. And Patrick actually serves as our vice chair for the Learning Technology Advisory Committee, so he'll be offering some insight into some of the great projects that they're also getting underway. So I will go ahead and kick off our presentation today, and I will share my screen, which I am very grateful to the Prairie View A&M institution team for providing the technical support for today's session. And we'll go ahead and get started. And so, for those of you that were not fully aware, the Division of Digital Learning was established in November 2020. So, we are brand new to the agency. We are the newest division. And what this does, in my opinion, is really reflect on the fact that the coordinating board understands and values digital learning and its impact on university success. Very much so that they dedicated an entire division to make sure that we were able to see how digital learning was infused into all aspects of the university institution college experience, but more than anything, how digital learning is infused in everything we do. So we're not just talking about how do we improve academics at an institution, we're talking about a quality digital learning student experience that spans across the spectrum of higher education and beyond. So, to give you a little bit of information on the division itself, our mission is to provide leadership and advocacy for digital learning in higher education and promote, sustain, and advance a quality digital learner experience, positioning Texas as a world leader and resulting in globally competitive, digitally proficient citizens. And that is a mouthful. But it is also a very ambitious goal to have, and one that I believe several of us in the field have been working towards for a very long time. Everyone on this call is probably very well aware that digital learning is not something new that just happened to strike us. The pandemic brought a heightened awareness to what we do, but we have been succeeding in this environment for a very long time. So now the next steps are going to be really influential for the way higher education develops. And we're going to leave it up to everyone on this call and everyone within our realms to be able to come together and define what is that new normal? And more than anything, how do we move forward from what we've experienced? So we have a small but mighty team in the Division of Digital Learning. As I said, we're only about 5 months in. I am in there as well as our project director, Dr. Kyla Tori, as I mentioned, who you'll be hearing from in a little bit. We also have Dr. Maddox, Marianne Maddox, who is our program specialist, and Dr. Liz Tolman, who is our additional program specialist, and they're relatively new to the team. And we have, of course, the core of the group, which is Miss Amy Zandy, who is our executive assistant. So we are all ready, willing, and able to help the community in any way that we can. So, to better figure out what exactly the digital learning division is responsible for, where we go in the future, let's look at the past a little bit. Let's go back about a year and some and talk about the coronavirus, where some of us had a little bit more notice, but within 1 week to another, or maybe within 2 weeks, we were literally told you're going for spring break, but you're not coming back, or go for spring break for a very long time. We are going to need to engage in this remote environment immediately, and we need to have all of our services for our students up and running within a week or two. So, like the Flash, of course, we're able to do this exceptionally well, right? From overnight, we become these digital successes, we become these digital phenoms that are just absolutely amazing and fantastic, right? Some of you are nodding, some of you are smiling, some of you are thinking, where does this woman live? Because that is not the situation that happened. Of course, your life is perfect now, right? Your internet is absolutely amazing and reliable all the time. You don't have to turn off cameras to preserve bandwidth and make sure your connection is sustained. Your new office mates, whether they be furry friends or they be little ones or they be other people in the house, are always patient, cooperative, ready for you to get into work and do exactly what you need to do, give you your space. You always have a computer available because evidently from overnight you now have 5 different machines in your house that everybody needs to utilize. Multitasking is beyond easy for us. We're able to do many things all at once, and of course you have enough room in your home for an office complex and what seems to be a daycare and a school and every other thing you can imagine, right? I mean, that's all of us because we're all really agreeing with my statements right now. Maybe your life is a little more like this, where people are vying to get your attention at all times, tugging at you from all different directions. Sometimes your furry friends love the warmth of your computer so much that they want to sit on it and not necessarily let you engage in it. Your internet is less than ideal. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It all depends. You're trying to multitask, and please be careful when you multitask. If you're trying to cook and listen to a lecture at the same time, be safe, safety first. And sometimes you're like me, that your computer is just on your last nerve and you really need to take a Zen moment. You want to throw it out the window, but you can't because COVID's outside. So you kind of have this conflict there. The truth of the matter is, it hasn't been easy, right? We've had to overcome a lot. Whether the pandemic or it'd be a winter storm or it'd be hurricane threats, it'd be anything. We have had to overcome so much as we didn't expect for us to be in this moment. But I want us to think about some of the perks of what happened during this remote time. Maybe right now you're sitting with a cup of coffee looking out into an amazing view. Maybe you're relaxing with your shoes off on your couch, listening to this on your laptop or your mobile device. Maybe you're still in bed. No shame, no judgment in this area. Maybe you are a suit and a party on the top and some pajamas on the bottom. Again, completely up to you. Or maybe you're enjoying breakfast as we speak. And I am very jealous if you are having a wonderful breakfast. But in between meetings, you do get to go outside and maybe cuddle with those furry friends or those little ones that just really give you that motivation to keep doing what you're doing and to keep going when it gets tough. But the biggest perk during this entire time is we all got to experience a day in the life of digital learners. We got to experience exactly what all of our external students, what all of our people that are engaged in digital learning degrees or digital learning programs, or people that are working remotely officially all the time go through on a regular basis. We got to live in the shoes of the students that we prepare resources so diligently for. And we got to live every single day and see things through their eyes and through their lens, which was very empowering. So I want us to think about, how often did we ask, or do we still ask, why does this have to be so complicated? Or why can we not do X, Y, and Z to make something easier? How can we improve on this process? Or how can we optimize this process to eliminate some steps and streamline some of our routine procedures so that it's easier on those that are at a distance? And we may be thinking, what do we need to do better? What do we need to do to enhance the services that we're designing so that people at a distance can come together and really take advantage and full utility of the services that we're offering? I want us to keep asking ourselves these questions. I want us to keep asking ourselves this, and this is our challenge for you from the coordinating board to all of you. And the coordinating board is also adopting this challenge. How do we move forward? In a time where so many are saying we're going back, we're getting ready to go back to our environments, we're getting to go back to the way things were, we're going back to so called normal. What we want to do is challenge you to say, how are we moving forward? How are we taking what we lived and what we experienced and benefiting the future of tomorrow? We're not going back. We may be returning to the environments that we left in some capacity, but we are taking the experiences that we all lived, we are taking those successes and moving higher education forward, moving government forward, moving agencies, moving corporate, moving nonprofits, and moving K 12 forward so that we can be that new frontier in education and in learning, digital learning in particular. We want to bank on the innovation, the creativity, the energy, the strategy, and the success that we had, and we want to do it together. So, what is the Digital Learning Division going to be doing to help take on this challenge and help our institutions and our partners? We're focusing on three goals as we move forward during this time. One of them is increasing awareness of what digital learning is and what it takes to establish a strong digital learning program at our respective institutions. We are increasing and building capacity. We understand that everyone's awareness point for digital learning is at a different place. We also understand that the capacity to build digital learning and on digital learning success is difficult depending on the resources that we have. We also want to focus on recognizing the digital excellence that is already existing within our institutions. As I mentioned, we are not new to this game. We have been in existence for a very long time, and we have been doing well and thriving in this space for decades. So now it is a matter of really bringing to the forefront those different successes that we've had as individuals and as institutions. So we want to make sure that we can focus on these three goals to empower you, to empower your institutions to really meet that next step of digital excellence. One of the tools that we're preparing to engage in, and this is going to be a project over the next 2 years, is creating a space for us to be able to assist each other and share the successes and resources that we've worked so diligently to build. Introducing Digital Learning in Texas, which is our DL-Tex space that we're going to create online. The goal is that we have a space online that represents who we are, what we do, and demonstrates how we've done this so well. We want people to say that through digital learning in Texas, we're able to educate, which is our faculty persona. We're able to learn, which is our student persona. We're able to drive change, which is our institution space. We're able to innovate, where we promote research. We're able to advocate, which is where our policy and our support really comes into play. And more than anything, we're able to lead. We're able to set that standard for what is on the horizon. So the idea is to create a space where we're able to provide resources or collect resources that you can leverage. But it's more than just a repository. It's a space where we're able to connect and we're able to build on each other's successes. And there's a lot of text on this slide, and trust me, you will have access to it within the Attendify portal. But really, what we're trying to do is make sure that we can bring across these different personas online experts, exemplars. We're able to create a space where we can share best practices and share those core elements that we need to be successful. We're able to come together and build communities of practice in a shared space. We have already had successes like OER Texas that we've launched. We want to be able to expand the use and the reach of that. We want to be able to have a space where our students can see and hear voices of other successful digital learners. What does it take to succeed in this space? We want to make sure that we're able to talk about topics like digital information literacy, which is so crucial right now, being able to empower our learners to see things past the surface value, to really be able to vet resource and understand whether these resources are legitimate and how they're able to support their learning. We're going to make sure that we can collect the utility and the different services that the agency has in one space so we don't have to be navigating across different areas to find the resources that are readily available. We want to make sure that we can collectively bring institutional resources across the ecosystem of what it takes to support digital learning. So, we're talking about creating spaces for not just digital learning administrators, but for also people, in particular for higher education, that are part of enrollment management, student affairs, institutional advancement, people that need to support and sustain a successful program of digital learning. Also, if any of you are new to the game in digital learning, have you ever asked yourself, how do I get started? Where do I get started? And how do I stay up to date with all of this information that is constantly changing? This would be an area where we can have experienced DL administrators help our new administrators kind of get into the game and understand the landscape of digital learning. We also want to make sure that we can create institutional connections. Have you ever stopped and asked, I wonder if there's another community college that uses Turnitin, has a certain LMS, but also has what they're using for proctoring? I want to make sure that I can connect with people using those same services. Wouldn't it be nice if we had one area where we could just put in these different descriptors and get a list of other institutions that are already doing this so that we can have some really robust conversations? We want to have a space where we can provide actionable data to you and that you would be able to use to enhance your research and develop your programs further. So we're trying to collect the information that is already shared at the agency and that we already collect at the agency in a nice systematic way that you can also engage in it and get the most from it. So creating a portal where we're able to have the different information that you share in a warehouse format, the landscape surveys that we've had with OER, the learning technology surveys that LTAC has started to create, a grant portal so you don't have to worry about where do I submit my applications for these innovative programs, and a survey portal so you don't have to be reinventing the wheel every time that you do a survey for us. You can just see if things have changed in your particular institution. We also want to create a space for those that are advocating for the work that we do. We want to make sure that our legislation is able to have insight into what digital learning truly is and how they best can formulate policies and programs to support and sustain the work that we do. We want to make sure that we can have an area where we talk about federal guidelines, where we talk about regulatory information and what is the latest with state authorization. Then we want to make sure that we can capitalize on the success that we're having as leaders within the space. We want to make sure that we have an on the horizon report, what comes next based on the experiences that we have. We want to make sure that we highlight and focus and shine the light on Texas innovation. We are the leaders in this space in so many different capacities. Let's make sure other people know about that. We want to support cutting edge research because we understand that's what it takes. There has to be an investment in where we go in the future. And we want to make sure that we can see things through an international and national lens so that we're not just moving the needle forward for digital learning excellence in Texas, but Texas plus where we go. So, as you can see, we have big goals for the Division of Digital Learning. And the only way that these are going to be able to come to fruition is with you, alongside all of you, partnering with all of you to get to what is that next step, to find out and define what that new normal is as we move forward. We want people to look at Texas and say, they got it right. They took what was a catastrophic event and made sure that they banked on the successes that were already established and really created a new collaborative environment where they empowered everyone to succeed. So we look forward to thriving with you, or like like to say, continuing to thrive with you online. And so, to specifically talk about some of those ideas that we are looking to develop and looking to share from the coordinating board, I invite Dr. Kyla Tori to share with you some of the new exciting services that we're having as we build our portfolio moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. So hi, everybody. I'm Kyla Tori. I'm the Program Director in Digital Learning at the Coordinating Board, and I'm just going to talk about some of our current initiatives, really things that started a few years ago into what we have going on now, and what we will build on to accomplish all of the work that Michelle was talking about. So our current initiatives at the coordinating board fall basically into three categories. We have some grants, which at this point are all devoted to open educational resources. We have our OER-Tex repository and community. And then we have, we're building partnerships with several organizations and institutions in order to work on some projects in the future, and I'll talk about those a little bit. So to talk about each one of these initiatives in a little bit more detail, first we have our state-funded OER course grants, which began in 2018. In 2018, we awarded $152,000 in our first cycle of these grants, which come from state appropriated funding. And from that first cycle, in the very first semester of implementation, where faculty converted their courses to only open educational resource courses that were free for students. They saved students over $300,000 just in the very first semester. So we're very excited about that. And we have more data coming soon so we can see how those grants are progressing. And there was a second cycle of these grants in 2020 where we awarded a little over $200,000, and those were awarded in October of last year, and they're getting to work now. We also have federally funded OER course grants. They're similar to the state grants in that they're for faculty to implement OER in their courses, but there are two different types. There are development grants where the faculty are creating new OER, and there are implementation grants where they are implementing existing OER in their courses. And these are specifically for Texas core curriculum courses, workforce courses in high value fields, and co-requisite courses. And so we've done 2 rounds of these federally funded grants so far. These are the institutions who have won grants in the first 2 rounds, and there'll be a 3rd round. We received about 49 applications in the 3rd round of this grant program, and those awardees should be announced pretty soon. We also have our OER-Tex repository, which you can find at oertx.highered.texas.gov. This was a project with the Institute for the Study of Knowledge Management in Education, or ISKME, who are the creators of OER Commons. If you're familiar with OER Commons, you'll see that this site is structured quite similarly. It is a site for searching for OER for Texas higher education. It is populated at this point with OER that is sort of most used by Texas faculty. We started with a focus on introductory core curriculum courses, and we're sort of building out from there, but you'll see there are courses that are linked to the ACGM and to the workforce education course manual in there, and we're continuing to expand the offerings that are available through OER-Tex. There are many ways to become part of the OER-Tex community. It isn't just a library, but it is really an interactive site where you can collaborate and connect with other educators. So you can adopt OER through the site by searching. You can suggest collections that might be useful to you. You can integrate the site with your LMS, so you can upload materials directly into your LMS from the site. You can create through the Open Author tool new OER or upload links to existing OER. You can apply for one of the grants that we have upcoming, which I'll talk about in a moment. And you can collaborate by creating groups with other educators, by creating a hub for your institution that has collections specific to your institution, or by joining one of the webinars that we also have upcoming. So we also have partnerships going on in OER and digital learning with a few different organizations and institutions. We first have 3 technical assistance partners who are helping us to get the OER grants going and help our awardees to design and implement the materials that they'll be using in those courses. And those are Dallas College, the Dana Center at the University of Texas at Austin, and OpenStax. We're also partnering, as I said, with ISKME on the OER-Tex site, as well as an OER Academy that's upcoming that I'll talk about just briefly in a moment. And we're partnering with Digitex on the Open Texas Conference, which was a few weeks ago, as well as some other projects. What's on the horizon for us immediately on the horizon? We have more grants that should be announced soon in OER framework support and digital learning capacity building support. So these will be for the capacity building part of our mission, where we will be providing funding for institutions to help build out how they are planning to implement OER programs and policies on their courses or digital learning projects, and there'll be more information coming out about that relatively soon. We're partnering with ISKME to do an OER Core Elements Academy. This will be basically a month-long academy with 3 live sessions and then some asynchronous sessions that will be about the foundations of OER use and adoption. So if you're new to open educational resources, that would be a good place to start to join a cohort to learn more about that. And with OpenStax, we have our OER-Tex Fest coming up, likely next spring. And that will be a sort of creator fest or hackathon type event where we will partner with OpenStax to do educational sessions, but also workshopping sessions around OER and OER use. The OER Texas repository URL is there, and my email as well, in case you have any questions about anything we've just talked about. You can always feel free to reach out to me. And I am now, so part of one really useful element in all of this has been the fact that we partner with institutions, and we have an advisory committee, the Learning Technology Advisory Committee, that really guides us in all of our projects. It's made up of you all, basically. It's made up of institutional representatives, and they give us guidance on all of the different initiatives that we're putting forth, you know, and we get sort of the inside view of how those will affect the institutions. And so that's been really helpful to us. And up next, we have Patrick Plush, who's going to talk to you a little bit about the Learning Technology Advisory Committee and the work they're doing. He is the Executive Director of Learning Technologies at the University of North Texas, and also the co-chair of the Learning Technology Advisory Committee. So I'm happy to introduce Patrick to talk to you a little bit about their work.
Thank you, Kyla. I appreciate it so much. And I actually have a title change. I am Executive Director of Digital Growth at UNT. That's relatively recent, so no problem there. I really want to thank Michelle and Kyla for asking me to join them on this panel. It's a great team. I'm very excited to be working with them on the array of digital learning initiatives that they have underway. I'd also like to recognize Commissioner Keller and his foresight to create this new division of digital learning and put forward such a progressive vision that will certainly improve the experience of educators and students. So couldn't be more excited. I also appreciate his enthusiasm for the statewide survey on distance learning instructional technology that will be the subject of much of what I talk about today. So Learning Technology Advisory Committee, it's something I should mention, and I asked Michelle if this was okay. It's folks like you and me who are leaders at our institutions who have been nominated by the institution to serve and selected by the coordinating board to provide input on policy initiatives, grant projects, and the wide array of instructional technology topics. And nominations are currently open. These are institutional nominations. Individuals represent their institutions. So if you are interested in that, Michelle, can they send you a note to find out more about, or Kyla? So, you know, if you're interested in any of these topics and becoming more involved, please step forward to serve. It is a great opportunity to meet others like yourself, have your voice valued, and really see some of these things come to fruition. So just a quick recommendation for an opportunity to serve and get more involved. Michelle has been was a longtime member of LTAC and also chaired it for a period. And now, of course, she is the Assistant Commissioner for Digital Learning. So couldn't be more thrilled to have that transition there, and also longtime leader in TXDLA. So it is really a great partnership. It in some ways opens doors for all of the members of TXDLA to be more engaged, because what I have seen under Commissioner Keller and certainly under Michelle's leadership is that coordinating board is much more approachable, I think, than it had ever been before. There's a collaborative spirit, and they're really interested in innovation and hearing ideas from others, not just to kind of a cyclone of ideas that are churning internally within Austin. So really excited about that. I'm going to talk about the survey primarily, which is one of the major works that LTEC has been working on since 2014. I think we initially put it forward, and it was an idea I had, but it was warmly received and very collaborative from the beginning. And let me share my screen. So I want to show you these names. These are individuals who are on LTAC, but also particularly put a lot of energy into the most recent revision and administration of the survey. So you may know some of these individuals. They represent 2-year, 4-year institutions. There's a student representative. There is someone from a private institution. So it's very representative of the public and private higher education landscape in Texas. And they spent lots of hours in meetings going through item by item, refining from previous versions, providing insight. And that is so greatly appreciated because it made it a much better survey instrument when we did administer it. So just wanted to put these names of leaders in front of you. If they're at your institution, feel free to give them some shout out for their contribution because it was noteworthy. So this is the third time that this survey has been conducted. We had results in 2016, 2018, and we are ready to release results again soon. The invitations are sent to the provosts or VPs of instruction at all public and private IHEs in Texas. Those lists of contacts are provided by the coordinating board and by ICUT, which is the Independent Colleges and Universities of Texas. Something that was really helpful this year is Sam Houston State University volunteered their call center to make follow-up calls to the institutional contacts that we had and say, hey, we noticed you haven't finished the survey yet. Just wanted to make sure you knew the deadline was approaching, see if you needed any help. And what we realized is that some of the information we had wasn't right. So we didn't have the right email address, but the phone number was still accurate. So that really helped increase our response rate over previous years. And it was a whopping 79%. We had 117 responses. So I couldn't be more thrilled with that type of response rate. It certainly makes this data very representative of higher education in Texas. So this is a summary of the types of institutions that participated: 54 2-year publics, 35 4-year publics, 8 public health related institutions, which I think is all of them. Maybe we had one that didn't, and 20 ICUT institutions. And typically we didn't get a lot of response at all from private institutions. They're like, coordinating board, no, don't really care. But they seem really invested and responsive this year. So incredibly pleased with the response. So where are we now with this and what are the plans? The quantitative analysis has been completed. Qualitative analysis is underway or will be shortly with coordinating board support. And thank you, Marianne Maddox, who I believe is on this call. She will be helping me with that. Texas Tech will make sure that the final product is accessible. And I guess why I mention these things is just to show you how much of a team effort it is with institutions pitching in resources to make this possible and keep us moving forward with it. The report will ultimately be sent to all the provosts and VPIs, regardless of whether they participated or not, but it will also be sent to the individual who completed the survey for their institution, if it's somebody different than that provost or VPI. Will also be posted on the coordinating board website and promoted by Digital Learning. And there is a link here. It's a pretty easy one, tinyurl.com/LTAC survey request. If you would like to sign up to receive a copy of the results when it is available, please go to that Google form and you are welcome to submit your name. There is an option, I think, after you've submitted one to submit somebody else. If you wanted to share it with someone on your team who, you could provide them the original link or you could sign them up if you feel comfortable doing that. So please feel free to go visit that link. And I see Kyla put it in the chat as well. Thank you, Kyla. And we will make sure that you are receiving these results when they are available. So Michelle and Kyla talked about some of the vision for these survey results, that it will be part of this digital learning ecosystem, DL-Tex. And some of the things that we would like to do is be able to provide role-based access to institutions so you can find other institutions like yours. And this was mentioned as well. It might be also an opportunity to identify where there could be collaborative purchasing agreements pursued among a consortium of institutions, or perhaps even through the coordinating board serving a role to make that happen. And this was also mentioned, exploring the possibility that you could, instead of completing this survey of 40, 50 questions each year, it could just be that you get to review previous submission and go, this is the same, this has changed. So saving some time in gathering those types of responses, making it easy for those who wish to participate. So now I want to, let me check on the time here. Looks like we've got a few minutes. pop over to the actual draft document so we can look at some of what you will be seeing when you receive the survey report. All right, so this is just a Word document at this point. I've taken the results out of Qualtrics, the survey tool that we used, and largely recreated all the graphics to make them easier to make accessible. I'm also going to put some little summary statistic tables under each one. The qualitative parts are what we still need to work on, and those are some of the most exciting parts, especially the new questions we added at the end of the survey that are asking things like, what made you most successful during this pivot to online? And a lot of great answers there, identifying the real heroes who made it possible to make educators and students successful during this last year plus. So just looking at the types of results you might see in this report, this is one of the very first content questions, if you will. What LMSs are being used in Texas? So you can see Blackboard and Canvas very close here in adoption, then Desire to Learn. So those are like the big three, and then Moodle not too far behind. Some that we had on previous surveys are, there's nobody that said, no, we're not using an LMS. And some of these others have fallen out of use or been acquired by other companies. So they wouldn't appear on the next survey, or they would be a write-in at that point. So again, the type of information we might see: plagiarism prevention, Turnitin, leading the pack, safe assign in there, Unicheck. And in the qualitative analysis, we'll also summarize what those others were, so you can see up and comers that might appear as a standard option in a future survey. So these are, oh, sorry, it is pausing a little bit here and then jumping. How about that? So this is a look at online exam proctoring services and what's been in use. And again, this was information that was gathered in late December and early January of this year. So this is fresh data, if you will. A lot of folks relying on the combination of Lockdown Browser and Monitor, and still using on-campus testing centers as well. And then we see a host of other proctoring services. So, while there is some leaders of the pack here, you've got a lot of players that are being used significantly by various institutions. And then we looked at what type of video hosting services are being used: YouTube, Zoom, cloud storage, Microsoft Stream. We ask a lot about tools to begin with: web conferencing tools, no surprise, Zoom, Microsoft Teams at the top, and then built-in web conferencing tools within the LMS: Blackboard, Canvas, WebEx, Google Meet. I'm going to make this, I know it's not common, so I'm going to make this smaller. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so it doesn't jump so much. There we go, e-portfolio tools. What we see is still relatively unadopted. There's 40 of those institutions that had none. And then you have the ones built into the LMSs being the next two most popular. But there's still a lot of competition down here. So we also ask about online student services that you will continue to provide for all students after the pandemic. So some of these are likely to, at the bottom, that they will go back being primarily face-to-face, but there are a good number here at the top that will be provided by their institution, by each institution following the pandemic. So that is encouraging. That's one of the things I think we've all asked as we go forward is, okay, we were able to provide these services online because we had to. If it was a good thing, why wouldn't we just continue to do that, right? Understanding there are resource limitations, but it's serving some students who were not served before the pandemic. Shouldn't we consider and find how do we continue to offer those services? So I'm noting the time and we're at 11:56 here. So we've got about 4 minutes left in our session. So I'm going to pop out of where we are in the report right now and make sure there's time for questions for all of the panelists.
And please feel free to come off mute if you do have a question, or if you want to post it in the chat, you're welcome to. If not, if you want to just give the thumbs up that you think this is a good idea and a good strategy for the DL division moving forward. If you're excited about some of the events, notice I did not say thumbs down or anything negative. So if it's positive, by all means, post it. No, but if you do have a suggestion or maybe an idea, please make sure to post that in the chat, or we'd love to hear from you. There we go. There are some of those thumbs up that we like to see in the Zoom environment, and some celebratory ones. Thanks, Janet. Shout out for that one. We do want you to know that several of you have actually emailed specifically about definitions, especially with this new exploratory time that we had during the pandemic. Several of us looked at high flex, several looked at different ways and combinations of making sure that we can meet the needs and demands of our students. Right now, a big question is, how do you report those things? Will we continue with the definitions we currently have moving forward? And I'm very happy to announce that through LTAC, we have created a subcommittee that specifically will be looking at regulatory issues, which include definitions, include some of the reporting requirements and so forth. So if you do have that concern, please be on the lookout. We will be asking certain questions. The survey actually asked some questions to help us get a better idea of what people were using, but we will be looking at this very carefully so that we can make sure that we align with federal guidelines and that we can stay connected and aligned to what is currently out there defining the field of digital learning. So I wanted to make sure that I put that out there in case that was a question that you did have.
Thank you, Michelle. And I popped up one of those questions that looks at course delivery types. And what's apparent from the results is that HighFlex wasn't being highly offered before COVID, but certainly became more popular during COVID.
And again, we are looking to expand the services that we're providing. Absolutely, accessibility is one of our priorities, Ray, and we will be talking about that as we move forward and what we can do collectively as a state to make sure that we can move some of these programs and some of these awareness points that really need to be driven home. So thanks for bringing that up. Again, thank you, everybody. We're rounding out the hour for attending. Please make sure to reach out for us. We want to partner with you. We want to try to work to provide services to empower you and the important work that you do to make sure that we can set that new standard for digital excellence for the state of Texas. So let's move everything forward together if we can. Appreciate your time and have a great rest of the conference.